So I just want to jump into a couple of points here, and I want this to be interactive. So it's all about making choices, is what I was talking about. And these are top 10 things you can do to really stand out, make connections, and make a difference and matter to the people who you meet, so that when they go home, maybe there's some reason that they're going to follow up with you. And the first one is you've got to have a plan of what you're doing. You just show up. I talked to somebody yesterday in preparation for this, and I asked them about what their biggest mistake was last year at South by Southwest. And they said, I didn't have a plan. I just showed up, and I kind of went from conference to conference. I didn't know where I was going to go. I always felt like I was running late. You want to have a plan. The second thing on the list is have a lot of business cards with you. How many people have business cards with them at the conference? Now, there seems to be a big trend. I'm glad that was a lot of hands. There seems to be a big trend for people to go, I don't use business cards. I think not having a card is actually a little bit selfish, because you want to make it easy for the other person to contact you if that need exists. And I don't need to be rude if for some reason you don't carry cards or you forgot them or whatever, but I think it's a little bit selfish not to have cards. When you do run into people, you want to be able to have that little exchange. And I tell everybody that selfish is so last year. You know, there's no room for selfish people. Talk to people. So I mentioned before, when you get to a session, don't just immediately, I was teasing about doing the Blackberry Prayer where people just sit there and, they're looking at that. Don't be the person who automatically is doing that or just staring blankly at the wall waiting for the presentation to start. But instead, turn to the people next to you and just ask them questions. But even when you're out and about doing different things, this is really important. I am not a psychologist, so I can't tell you why this happens, but once you have said hello to somebody in our society, you have the right to chit-chat. So after you've said hello, you're going to see them again later. Number 6 on the list, put your technology away. And I know at South by Southwest, someone can come and kill me for having said that. But if I'm standing in the hallway doing this, if I am sitting there like this, and you want to come up and say, hey, I really enjoyed talking to you this morning, or hey, it was fun being in your session earlier today, and I'm doing this, what are the odds you're going to come up and talk to me? 0. Another thing where I'm going to get shot at South by Southwest for saying this is, first of all, I said, pass real paper business cards. Second of all, put your technology away. The third one, when you meet somebody for the first time and have a very brief conversation with them, don't immediately run back to your phone or your computer when you do see it again and automatically send them a LinkedIn or a Facebook request. Don't just assume that everybody wants to link to everybody they know. And, well, I met them, we traded cards, we talked for 2 minutes. Meeting someone once does not make them a permanent part of your life. I have a rule. I don't link to anybody on LinkedIn or Facebook. Now, Twitter's an entirely different animal. But I don't link to anybody on LinkedIn or Facebook who I have not sat down with and had a one-on-one conversation for at least 45 minutes or an hour for a cup of coffee, a beer, or a meal. And I have a technical term for this. I call it the cup of coffee, meal, or beer rule. And then, the other thing you can do, if you've met someone who's fascinating, introduce them to other people. Say, I just met Joseph, and it was a really interesting conversation. James, you really should meet Joseph. Now you're connecting other people, so when you meet interesting people, instead of just, creating fictional friendships, make real connections with them and other people that are in the room. By introducing people to each other, you become the conduit. And let's say you do introduce 2 people who really do hit it off. Maybe they have a business reason, and you strategically chose to introduce them, and you're the person who does it. How do they feel about you? They think you're brilliant. Like I said, not everybody you meet is there going to be that connection, but hopefully you'll walk away from South by Southwest with a handful, 3, 4, or 5 people who you think, wow, I really would like to follow up with them. You have to own that follow-up. And people say, well, they can contact me. Well, they didn't come to the seminar, so you have to own the follow-up.